Hi, this is Braden Holtby.
Hey, this is Tanner the Bulldozer Bozer.
Hi, this is Brian Burke from Toronto, Ontario.
This is Daryl Sutter.
Hello, everyone. I'm Carly Agro from Sportsnet Central.
This is Jay Onright.
This is Quick Dick coming to you from Tofnell, Saskatchewan.
Hey, everybody. My name is Theo Fleury.
This is Kelly Rudy.
This is Corey Cross.
This is Wade Redden.
This is Jordan Tutu.
My name is Jim Pattison.
Hey, it's Ron McLean, Hockey Night in Canada and Rogers Hometown Hockey, and welcome to the Sean Newman Podcast.
Welcome to the podcast, folks. Happy Wednesday, hump day. Hope everybody's doing well. I'm hoping that spring is coming and not another dump of snow. Chances are we all know snow is coming again, but hey, here's to hoping. We got a great one on tap for you today. I think everybody who follows along with the podcast knows I'm a big Tim Micallef fan, and so I got him back on. He's got his new show, and we get into a bunch of that. But before we get there, let's get to today's episode sponsors. Jim Spenrath and the team over at Three Trees Tap and Kitchen. They supply the beverages in the studio, and I always enjoy Three Trees. If you follow along with their social media, like Jim is a community first guy, and his team is a community first group, and they're always helping different organizations here in town. I know a little while back it was the Kinsmen and Kinnets Telemiracle Steak Night, and I really appreciate that. I always think positivity spreads, and Jim and his team over at Three Trees, that's exactly what they're doing. They're trying to get the best out of Lloyd. And if you're into a little bit of the beverages, you can get your growlers filled there. And I always bring up, a couple of local ones, Fourth Meridian, Ribstone Creek, but they got so much more on tap. Like you can even get Guinness filled up if you're into that kind of beer. Not this guy, but hey, that. To each their own. For a reservation, give them a call, 780-874-7625. T-Bar One Transport. Since 2002, for more than 19 years, the team at T-Bar has offered excellent service, putting the community first. They are located in both Lloydminster and now Bonnyville. They can cover all your heavy haul needs. In their fleet, they have tank movers, 3 45-ton pickers, 1-tons, flat decks, Texas beds, winch truck, and highway tractors. And currently, the boys are planning 3 loads of pipe to Williams Lake, BC. Look that up. That's in the middle of pretty much nowhere in the mountains. For all your heavy haul needs, give the boys a call at T-Bar 1, 780-205-1709. Mac Construction. They've been doing business locally for over 12 years with over 100 homes completed. Mac Construction is a design, build, custom home building operation that is specialized in constructing custom homes, cottages, and RTMs throughout Lloydminster and community since 2008. In addition to custom home building, Mac Construction does extensive renovations to residences and light commercial work. If you're looking to build your dream house, head to Mac Construction and look no further. Jen Gilbert and team for over 45 years, since 1976. Spit it out here. Since 1976, the dedicated realtors of Coldwell Banker Cityside Realty have served Lloydminster and the surrounding area. Did you know when it comes to rental properties, they are the biggest licensed residential property management company in the city of Lloydminster? The old tongue just it doesn't want to work tonight, folks. They deal with over 250 rental units. We're talking houses, apartments, and condos. Direct deposit, get rid of the headache, deal with Coldwell Banker. They'll make it nice and easy for you. They know that home is truly where awesomeness happens. Coldwell Banker, Cityside Realty, for everything real estate, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 780-875-3343. HSI Group, they're the local oil field burners and combustion experts that can help make sure you have a compliant system working for you. The team also offers security, surveillance, and automation products for residential, commercial, livestock, and agricultural applications. Shout out to Mustard in the middle of this. I see that he was getting a quote from HSI for his new house, so shout out to Mustard and the team over at HSI, fixing him up, probably going to keep him and his good woman safe, because that's what they do. They use technology to give you peace of mind so you can focus on the things that truly matter. Stop in today at 3902 52nd Street or give Brody or Kim a call at 306-825-6310. Have you seen the SNP billboard? Or, I don't know, the new cutout at the Factory Sports? It all comes from Read 'em Right. And Deanna Wandler having a little bit of fun with me and Flat Sean, as they're calling it now, sitting at Factory Sports. You can get some SNP gear and see what Read 'em Right has done to make me look, I don't know, I think I look rather sharp. Gartner Management is a Lloydminster-based company specializing in all types of rental properties to help meet your needs, whether we're looking at small office or a 6,000 square foot commercial space. Give Wade Gartner a call, 780-808-5025. And if you hit into any of these businesses, let them know you heard about them from here, all right? Now let's get on to that T-Bar 1 tale of the tape. Originally from Don Mills, Ontario, in 1997 he started as an intern at The Score with the likes of Cabby Richards and Sid Sixero. In 2004, Tim and Sid, the popular duo, got their start together, and for 17 years would lead their show to becoming nationally televised. Their Tim and Sid podcast would consistently be in the top 5 in Canada as well. Now, Tim has a new show called Tim and Friends. Love the show. I'm talking about Tim Micallef. So buckle up. Here we go.
What's going on? This is Tim Micallef, formerly of Tim and Sid, now of Tim and Friends. I don't know how long that'll last, but I do know that I enjoy going on with Sean Newman. And you're listening to the Sean Newman Podcast.
Welcome to the Sean Newman Podcast. Today I got Mr. Tim Micallef hopping on. How's it go, sir?
It's going good. It's going good. It's busy. It's good. It's busy. It's good. And I need to get out of this lockdown. Like, I need to move somewhere besides the big city. Like, we're getting ridiculous now. I'm starting to run out of the patience a year into this whole thing. Because we're still not, like, my kids aren't playing sports and they're in school, but that's about it. That's about all we got right now. So I'm getting tired of this whole thing. I know you guys are kind of up and running a little bit more than we are right now, but I don't know. I heard about out east, they're playing games. Kids are out, practicing and playing games. And I'm just like, let's get to it. I know we're doing it for all the right reasons and all that stuff, but let's get to it.
Well, we got our own battles going on out here, but compared to probably what you guys are going through, we're a lot more relaxed. Although I'm like 5 minutes from the farm and being where you're in the land of no one around you. So you can pretty much go and do your own thing. But in saying that, being on a border city, we've kind of got the benefit at times of both provinces. So Alberta went to lockdown where you couldn't have anyone, in restaurants or anything like that. Although I don't know, we could get into the COVID chat of how you can go into a Costco, but you can't go into different places, and that's for whatever. But being in Lloyd, we had restaurants still open. We still had a few things going on. I hate to jinx the swimming pool, but the swimming pool was like a blast of the past. Could take the family swimming and stuff like that. So it was, we've been able to skirt by it. How are things out east there, Mr. Micallef?
There's not like the only thing that for me is like, I'll go for walks and the family goes, but the kids get tired, right? Like there's only so many things that you can do in the winter. And like, we can't go for a twirl. We had an outdoor rink in the neighborhood, the one I actually grew up on. And that was great for about a month, but she's melted now and it doesn't usually last a month. So we were kind of lucky because it was cold. So we had the outdoor rink that was January. And then February, my kid plays baseball, my girl does dance, and the only thing they're doing them is on Zoom. And it would be nice to be able to, like rent the ice and go out and just, shoot some pucks at the glass because I can't hit the net. But just all those things, like those are the things that I miss the most, like just going for a skate with the boys or taking my kids out and, hitting off a tee, stuff like that.
Well, I think the last time I had you on, October 5th, 2020. So that's a while back now. You were episode 119 on this side. I started off with how are you doing? Because I know that's been the question, but I can feel you're lagging. You're joking before we started. You haven't had supper. I haven't had supper. I guess I function a little bit. I'm in a good mood, big shooter.
Hey, hold on. You're 2 hours back, are you not?
I'm 2 hours back. That's right.
So you're at 6:04. I'm at 8:04. I'm at 8:04. You're at 6:04. I don't know if we're supposed to give away the time, but you're a couple hours back on your din. Like that's. I'm all right though. I'm good. I had a late lunch, Sean.
You know, a late lunch. Oh yeah, a late lunch. Yeah.
A late lunch. Yeah. Yeah. I actually made the kids. So in these COVID days, the wife's a teacher and the kids are at school. And just to get them out of the school because they got the masks on, just to give them a little bit of a breather from there, no pun intended, I bring them home for lunch, old school styles. And so I'm making the lunch, doing my meetings for work, doing all those things.
What's your go-to? What's your go-to to make them?
Today I did Kraft macaroni and cheese. I did old Katie classic. I usually go sandwiches. If I'm really lazy, I go peanut butter and jelly. My son hates tomatoes. My daughter likes tomatoes. So sometimes you get the fancy sandwiches. You know,
you're talking to a guy who, my wife's a teacher as well. And on Monday nights, she stays late. I pick kids up. I bring them home. And on the way home, I always go, so what do you guys want? I'm feeling creative tonight. Dad, we want Kraft dinner. All right. Well, what the hell do I care? All right. Kraft dinner it is. I can't screw it up.
My daughter's pure Canadiana too. And it's just like, I'm going to be honest. Like, I do not like Kraft dinner. And my daughter's like,
you don't like Kraft dinner?
Where's the ketchup? I'm like, oh my God, are you Canadian or what? Like, is Kraft dinner with ketchup not the most Canadian meal possible?
Pretty freaking close. That's what my kids love. They love Kraft dinner with a little bit of ketchup on it. I don't get the ketchup part, but hey, whatever. If they're going to eat it, I'm happy. Right? Like, get some food in your belly. I'm good with it.
I don't mind. So my dad is, we're Maltese. So if you're doing pasta shells, like do something, get a red sauce, do something, put something in that sauce, put a little meat in there, like put some. And so it's just like, it's just shells and cheese. Like, give me more is what I don't like it. Like, it's not that I hate it. It's not that when I was in university, I didn't eat it a ton because I couldn't afford anything else. I did that and Chef Boyardee ravioli sandwiches. I don't know if you remember those, 99 cents a tin. Just butter.
So that's why you don't like any of you've had enough of it for a lifetime.
Yeah, bingo has been called. Yeah, that's why.
Well, I got to know, man. I watched your final Tim and Sid episode. I didn't watch. Sorry. I'm still working full time, so I'm on the road when that's airing. So I didn't get to see today's, but I listened to yesterday's on the podcast. Tim and Friends of the show. How? First off, I guess I want to know. Did it come as a shock that Sid was leaving, or was that something that was being talked about?
No, we had there had been several conversations over the years, and both of us knew that eventually we wanted it to end. But to be honest, I said this in the first show, we were seduced by the success of it, where it was easy to just kind of sit around with a guy that you laughed with and you could just talk sports with, and people seemed to enjoy it. So we were kind of seduced by it. I'd done play-by-play and I hosted a bunch of things. My dream early on was to do the Raptors play-by-play. And I was up for that gig a couple times and never got it. And so Sid knew if I got that, I was gone. And I never got it. So, he's kind of toyed with a couple of different things along the way, and nothing really came about that forced either of us to make a tough decision. And he had actually flirted with this breakfast television gig before and didn't like the timing of it, but really wanted to kind of spread his wings. And so when it came around the second time in the middle of the global pandemic, I think he said, I'm not going to hedge anymore. Like, I'm not going to sit and wait. And I was cool with it. I knew what it was. I knew all along that we wouldn't last that long. And to be honest with you, if you had told anyone that knew us 17 years ago when we started, and asked them if we'd last 17 years, every one of them would have said hell no. Because we're
what a run though. What a run.
Yeah, it was a great run. And in these days, like, man, it's tough to keep the business going, right? Like, there's shutting down stations in Vancouver and in Ottawa. Like, it's not the business that it once was. So when something came along, it was like great run, tip of the cap all around. And especially the people that work behind the scenes that help us do it. But it was just kind of a tip of the cap. All right, next stage, let's see what it is.
Was that getting to have one last episode though?
Well, it's awesome.
And no one just getting like soak it in a little bit, right? Because I mean,
Yeah.
for a lot of people, you know, they don't get that, right? It's just abrupt, or it only lasts 2 years and you never really like 17 years is a good run. That is an extremely good run. What I find crazy on this side is it was first Jay and Dan, and now you two. I'm like, holy God! Like,
Yeah.
you know, those are the shows I grew up with, pretty much.
Right.
Like, and I would say a lot of Canadians would have the same feelings.
Yeah, without a doubt. And Jay and Dan didn't get the flowers, right? Like, and we were really thankful that we were able to, you know, and a lot of that is trust too, right? Like the bosses have to trust you to give you that last. I mean, we basically had 2 months after it was announced. And I'm sure there were a couple people in the executive wondering if he would say anything, but the fact that he was staying in the company, like it's the same. Rogers owns Sportsnet, Rogers owns City TV. So if he really wanted to screw somebody and say something stupid, he probably wouldn't. He probably would have done it if he was going somewhere else, but not going where he went. So there was no real worry about anyone saying anything stupid, and I think they just trusted us that we would see it to the end.
Well, a guy reached out on Twitter. Zach wanted to know who leaves primetime talking sports to switch lanes into breakfast television. From what you're saying, is that what Sid always wanted to go to?
I think he loves. I don't think that like. I don't think that it's necessarily he's done with sports. I just think that he wants to try different things. Like I think he wants to go and do the other stuff, the some of the politics, some of the bachelor stuff. Like he's so into so many different things that I'm not into. So it doesn't make sense to me or Zach, but to him it makes perfect sense. And it's just he has so many more interests that he wants to kind of tackle. Like I wouldn't be surprised. He's so smooth. Like I know people get distracted because he goes on rants and he's so confident in his opinion that sometimes he'll say stuff and you're like, what is this guy saying? But he's so smooth and so funny that I guarantee you there'll be like, I don't know if it's a game show or if it's the Junos or if it's like, he will rise quickly because a bunch of people who never saw him because they don't watch sports are going to go, holy crap, who's this guy? So that's kind of, I think he's looking for, let's see what happens when they say, holy. I remember Onright did the Olympics.
Yeah.
And then got a bunch of different opportunities because people were like, holy crap, this guy's good. And everyone in sports was like, yeah, no guff. Like he's been doing it for like 10 years. Where have you been? And it's just the people who don't watch sports. And there's a lot of them out there or don't watch like hardcore sports. And I would say that, Jay and Dan, Tim and Sid was kind of like, you got to be a fan, like a real fan to take in either of those. And when we've gone on and done all these other shows, or we did the Raptors parade, people were like, oh, those guys are good. It's like, yeah, we've been doing it for 15 years. We better be good. Like, we better be decent. Otherwise, someone's in trouble.
It's funny. Here's a guy. I'm sitting here, Tim. I've been doing the podcast for 2 years. It's been 2 years almost to the day.
Yeah.
I got so much youthful exuberance coming out of my ass. It's not even funny. Like, got Tim on tonight. I'm fucking fired up, right? Like, I'm gonna drop an F-bomb on it because I'm ready to go. I'm rare.
Right.
And when I hear out of you, and I know the last little bit in the media biz has been extremely tough. It's not been a pretty place. And I know it's at the long end of a long day of a new show, no supper in you. I'm hitting a lot of things on the wrong times here. I'm still going to take it. But I hear a lot of like it's just, he was living for a change, and maybe we didn't want to do Tim and Sid for 50 years, which I guess I just, as a fan and a person who watched it, I just assumed every day was like, man, this is awesome. And I hope this goes for 30 years.
Right. There's like I'm a Libra, right? So I it doesn't mean that I'm actually the scales, but I am that person. So it actually fits me. I don't even believe in it, but I always see both sides, and it is a strength and a weakness of mine. And you'll see it in the shows. You'll see it in arguments. You'll see it when I'm talking to my wife. You'll see it everywhere. So I kind of see both sides of it. I'm incredibly grateful for what we had and what we did. Like, imagine spending 17 years, 5 days a week, laughing your ass off. Like, that's awesome. And for me, it was like, I'm grateful for what it is. The way it ended made it really tough, right? Like, it was a short runway, got to launch a new show, have a week off. There's people behind the scenes that we got to get up to speed. Who's going to be the co-host? We don't really have time to have a full-time co-host. People got to do other jobs. Like, all of it wasn't ideal, but if someone's going somewhere to do something that they want to do, especially someone who gave you as much as Sid gave me through the years, what am I going to do? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to stand in his way. I'm not going to be bitter about it. It's just, it's been a lot of work over the last like month and a half to get ready for the new thing, figure out what it was, and then go out and do it.
So Tim and Friends, tell me, like, of the show, like, was that like, were you like, man, I'm psyched for this? Or was it like, was there 10 ideas of how you're, prime time with
it's like
Tim,
everyone has the idea, right? Like, every executive has the idea of what it could be or what it should be and where it needs to go and what it needs to be. And so you sit through all of the meetings at a place like our place. It's not just like turn the keys and go, right? If it was turn the keys and go, it would have been a lot. I think you'd see a little more pep in my step, but there's just, you got to go through all of the channels of sponsors and things like that, like, that sometimes can get in the way of it. So Tim and Friends was just the best way to make something feel natural that wasn't going to be natural because of the short runway.
So are you excited about that though? I guess I'm a defenseman, right? Played defense all my life. All I wanted was just give me one guy. Don't give me a new defense partner every bloody night. That'll be tough.
Right.
But when I look at the show, you had Sid, who was your steady Eddie for 17 years. Now you get the excitement. I mean, the possibilities are just endless. That excites me. But for a guy, if I look at defense, I could understand how, man, now I got to adjust to everybody they bring on. Like, is that fun? Are you excited about it?
No, that's fun. No, that's fun. That's fun for me. That's like, I'm a playmaking center, Sean. That's what I am. So you slide me some wingers in there, and I'm gonna spoon feed as long as they can score, as long as they got some hands. I'm the playmaking center. I'm Adam Oates.
You're Adam Oates, or are you Sidney Crosby, where they can just give you any two dumpster fires and you'll still get them points?
Well, I don't know if I'm turning Bernie Nichols into a 79 goal scorer. I don't think I'm Gretzky. I don't think Rob Brown. I don't think Kevin Stevens. I'm not Lemieux. I'm probably maybe a Craig Janney. Is there a Craig Janney in there that we can throw? More of an Adam, although Adam Oates was way underrated. He was ridiculous too. So I'm excited about it. Like, I think it'll be fun, and I think we'll find. The goal for me is to find a couple of different friends that really click, and then just kind of go with it from there. Because it'll be tough going. We're gonna go through like 30 wingers. Like, we've already got 30 different people lined up. So I think part of it is just to have fun in the moment and see where it takes us, and then reassess at the end of the seasons of hockey and basketball. Because it's not often that you restart something like our TV business is, you don't mess with it during the seasons. Maybe in the summer, if the Jays aren't as hot as they might be this year or have been in the past, you kind of reassess everything after the season. So to have him go when he went was tougher. So we'll run this course right now. We'll see what we get, and then we'll reassess and see if we narrow it down. Maybe Tim and Friends will be Tim and someone. Maybe it'll remain Tim and Friends. Maybe it'll work. But I'm open-minded. See what happens. Have some fun.
Tim and Friends of the show. Yes.
Tim and Friends sounds like a kid's show. If you're wondering why Sean keeps saying friends of the show, because I feel like it's like a purple dinosaur show to call it Tim and Friends. So I keep saying it's Tim and Friends of the show. They're friends of the show who are coming in, but the graphics were too expensive to change too much. So it's just Tim and Friends. And I'm going to say, I've already said Tim and Sid like 10 times. So I'm going to say it 100 times.
I think it's got some cool possibilities, and I honestly, with the revolving door, that'll take a little bit for people to get used to, but like something's gonna click. It always does, and it's gonna feel right, and everybody's gonna know it, which will be cool to watch. I just think of like the endless possibilities of like
who do you want to see? I got the pen in my hand.
Who do I want to see?
Yeah, who would you like to see in that chair?
Wait, can they be anywhere, or do they have to be in TO?
That's the beauty of this, and that's why we went Tim and Friends in the pandemic was that we could do it the way you're doing it right now.
Oh, sweet. Sean Newman, capital S. I think Cabby would be fun, but I mean, Cabby's on his own show and down, but Cabby's sweet, and he's a throwback to where you guys started. I know that probably can't be long term, but I mean, hell, that'd be cool.
Yeah, Cabby's on the list, and we're just sorting through some legal issues to see if he can come on and do a few shows with us. But he's definitely on the list. All right, so Newman, I don't know this guy, but Sean Newman, capital S. I know you got that. Is it W or is it U? Can you move your head so I can see?
U. Come on. SHU. SHAU. As Glenn Healy said, who the fuck is Sean Newman? I agree, but that doesn't mean it can't work. Now, the only thing is if the audience wants the toothless Sean, they got to speak up awfully quick because, like I said, Friday. We start the process, and it's going to be a while.
You're patching it up. You're getting the
hey, listen, out. I told the wife.
Give the grout.
It's been I turned 35 in May. So it has been 17 years since it happened, Tim. I met the love of my life with no teeth.
Right.
And about 2 days before we got married, I got one put in just for the wedding. And she's been telling me, when you're done playing hockey, which happened this year, COVID definitely put the nail in the coffin. But I mean, she's like, when you're done, let's get it fixed. I'm like, yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right.
That's what hockey players do when they're done. They go get the teeth fixed.
No point before that.
No point. My old man, you know this from the previous one. My old man played in a time where losing one was a good run. So his trick when we were growing up, and he was coaching all of us, there's 4 boys in the family, he would stand behind the net if he was coaching, or on the bench. Every once in a while things would get tense, and he would just slide the plate out and he would drop it down a little bit. And it was the whole top row. So he just, come on boys, let's get it going. And the plate would be dropping up and down. So he's we've seen a lot of that. One tooth, tell your wife she's got it good. One tooth. My mom had the whole top plate and that wasn't at 80. That was at 22. that was a youngster.
Oh man. Well, I tell you what, it's the teeth thing's like whatever. It doesn't bother me. It bothers other people. And actually, I got in the dentist chair, and they're sitting there, and they're like, "Oh man, everybody's gonna be so happy." And I'm like, "You really think everybody's gonna be happy about this?" So we put out a Twitter poll and an Instagram poll and a Facebook poll, and it came back. It was 65% of people said don't do it. Yeah. I'm like, like people are nuts. But
when I finally shaved my head, like I kept telling my boss, people will like I don't understand. So my boss wouldn't let me shave my head, so I was clinging to like these wisps at the front, and I'm like, what are we doing here? Just like, you look too young. You look like a punk. You look like you're, and I'm like, no, people will say that's the bald guy. And he kept saying, nah. And I did it. And everyone was like, oh, the bald guy. And it's like the one, you that's how you're known. It's fine. You're missing one tooth, right? Michael Strahan. Everyone knows Michael Strahan. He's got the teeth are spread. Like, it's a distinguishing factor in a world where there's a lot of crap thrown at you. So if I'm the bald guy on Sportsnet, I'm okay with it. And I've always been okay with it. And if you're the guy missing his front tooth, someone can ask you to sing the Christmas song where you say, all I want for
Well,
Christmas
you
is
want to
one
know,
front tooth.
before I met my wife, the best part of having no teeth was making up the stories on why I lost my tooth.
Yeah.
Right? You'd be at the bar and some girl would come up and be like, "Oh, why'd you lose your tooth? Or how did you lose your tooth?" God, I loved that game. That was a fun game to see their reactions.
Right. What was the best one?
Well, I did the Seinfeld, the marine biologist, and walked away. How did you lose your tooth? I'm a marine biologist. She was angry that day, my friends, and just walked away. I still wonder what she thinks. She probably thinks I'm a jackass. I have no idea who that was, but
Right. He said marine biologist. And I started there. Did a whale like come up and hit him in the mouth? What happened? The boat? Like what? You left with a lot of questions. Like I would have chased you down if it was, hey, how'd you lose your tooth? I'm a marine biologist. What do you mean you're a marine biologist? How tough does it get out there? A lot of marine biologist fights. What are we talking about here?
who do you want to be your co-partner? Like who if you could have your choice of like, I don't know, who would you take for a round? Who would be fun to have on?
You know what? You know what? One of the things was I didn't want anyone to be I didn't want anyone to be compared to Sid or think that we were trying to replace Sid. I thought it was kind of stupid to put someone in the spot because people would have just bitched and moaned. Oh, he's not Sid. Oh, he's better than Sid. Oh, it's, the show's not the same, and blame the other person for why the show's not the same when the show's not going to, like, my whole first 10 minutes of this first show was this show will not be the same because people get used to it. And that's a compliment. And I understand it. And I know that some people won't like the new iteration, but I didn't want to put anyone in that spot.
It reminds me of The Office, right? When Steve Carell leaves,
right?
Who's going to replace him, right? And it's like
way lower level of The Office. Yeah,
I don't know, but like I mean, it's the same psychology, right? Who can come in and fill those shoes when he's been doing it for as many years as he has? Like, I mean, that's what you're trying to do, and that's a tough thing to do. So what you're doing, I think is the right way. I think you're going to find somebody that just fits the mold, and the audience kind of gets to test run, because if they don't like it, Tim, they're going to be like, nah, and you're going to feel that, and you're just going to keep going, and that's the lovely thing. You just keep spinning it.
Right, and that's what I've come to embrace, and the team behind the scenes have come to embrace it. And so when you say like, oh, who would you like to sit in the chair? I would just love to test, and I'd love to give a bunch of kids or people who you wouldn't expect
an opportunity.
An opportunity to give it a shot. There's a lot of people that work at our building that have been waiting years just to get a shot. So we're going to do a bunch of those first out of respect, because I think that's cool. If I was in the building and there's people that have been there, like, so we have a digital producer who's in there and he's just kind of sorting through the tweets while I'm on the show. That guy's been waiting 8 years for a shot, right? Like, it's not, there's a certain amount of talent that you need to have, and talent will rule. But there's also just the guy in me, the dude in me that grew up in sports. When people put the work in, I feel like you should reward them, or at least give them the opportunity. If they don't work, that's fine, but give them the shot and see if they can do it.
Yeah, hey man, I tip of the cap to you, because I agree. It's the crazy thing about the industry is, like, there's, I forget his name, and that's terrible, but we were just talking about it a couple days ago. The guy from Red Deer who took Jack Michael's spot on the radio for the Oilers, and he'd been there for, like, forget how many years it was, like 20 years. And I'm like, oh man, 20 years to get to the bigs, right? Like,
right.
I totally get that. That's a really cool thing. And you never know, maybe the guy sitting there for 8 years, he'll walk in and kill it, and that'll be it. And he'll have his story, and away he goes. Now it's going to bug me
who the Edmonton Oilers guy that I'm thinking of, Bob Stauffer, who's been there forever. And all right, I'll look it up later. I'll look it up.
When I ask you your next question, I'll try and look it up quick. I wish I had a producer sitting to the left of me, but I was saying to my brother today.
Cam Moon.
I do. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Cam Moon.
That's
You
good
got it.
memory.
Yeah. No,
Uh,
I looked it up. I looked it up.
Oh, you're
Yeah,
doing
I got it.
nice work. I liked Doris Burke yesterday.
Yeah.
Man, that was a solid little interview, and she said something that that stuck with me, and we talked about it the first time we got together, and she
Right.
said putting in the work when no one was listening / watching, and
Yeah.
she was getting to make mistakes and everything, and now to see where she is, and like, frick, I didn't realize she got to sit with Obama, and like, man, she's
Yeah.
had a career.
Yeah, it's so funny. I have a friend who works at ESPN, and he said to me, "You have to ask her." And she didn't bite because she's a little too classy on it, but he's like, "You have to ask her about the universal love that she gets versus where it was 5 years into the career, because 5 years into the career it wasn't what it is now." And I think that I think most people who have decency respect hard work and respect those who have kind of gone through it and come out the other end still smiling, right? Like that's a big part of life, period, is going through it and then coming out the other end still smiling. So when you're saying to me about coming here a little tired, having not had dinner and all that stuff, part of me is like, buck up, Micallef, like let's go here, because no one wants to know how the sausage is made. But the beauty of that conversation with Doris was that I think that most people understand what she would have faced even if they didn't see it. And the work when no one's watching, I believe firmly in that. I think I used it somewhere else in the show too. I think I actually said it before, or maybe it was after. But I'm a firm believer in, I think that's John Wooden has used that one too. And the last time I was on, I screwed up the maybe parable, so I'm not going to miss. I'm not going to miss another chance at screwing something up. But John Wooden said, there's the one about character and reputation. Be more concerned about your character than your reputation. And the other one is the true measure of a man is what he does when no one's watching. And when I heard, I don't know if you took in much of the Walter Gretzky eulogy, or if you were paying attention to Chris Schultz and what people were saying about those two. We lost two legends in the Canadian landscape, and I had met Schultz a bunch of times, and he was such a good dude when no one was watching. And Walter Gretzky, there's like 1,000 stories about how he gave time, and there was no TV camera there. There was no one was putting it on Twitter what charity work he was doing. There's no photo op. He just did it. And so I'm a huge believer in what you do when nobody's watching. And Schultz and Walter Gretzky were two of those people for me. And I'd seen it a bunch of different times. And so it stuck with me. So when you said that about Doris Burke, there was a couple of different examples of that popped into my head. And it's so true, because there are a lot of guys that will, especially in Twitter and Instagram age, right? Like there's a lot of people who will do something and you'll see it, and someone took the picture there, and then there's a lot of guys that just go and do the work, and I tend to lean towards the people who just do it.
Yeah, probably name me one Canadian, or at least hockey background Canadian, who didn't watch at least part of the thing on Walter Gretzky. I mean, he's almost as famous as Wayne. Like,
it's crazy.
Think about that as a hockey dad, right? Like, I mean, but the way he presented himself at all times, whenever he was in the limelight, he wasn't in the limelight, whenever he talked, he just represents what hockey and Canada is supposed to be. Like that's what he, and that's why he's beloved by so many people, right? Like, the story that Gretzky or Wayne says about the golf balls and signing them, right? Like, that's super cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, like two greats. That's the way. How old was Walter?
Yeah, he. I want to say, I don't want to get it wrong, so I'll just look it up. But Heart of Gold. I love when you. So he was born in 38. So he's 82, 80. Yeah, 82.
82.
Yeah.
Like he lived a good life. And so, like, it's sad that I think probably the saddest thing about it is it probably came in a time where, and who knows, the Gretzky's have a little bit more money than Sean Newman, so maybe they were afforded a few different things, ability to move people around to different so that they could be around each other. But at the same time, I highly doubt all that.
Yeah.
And with the pandemic, I mean, that's just what's tough about it is the year he goes, right? And probably the way in which his family had to be, because that guy should have probably
you could have put him in the. You could have been an Ivor win. Like you could have put him in the Ticat Stadium.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Funeral there. Yeah.
He should have had a funeral with like 50,000 people there. And in saying that, the procession outside the funeral or the church was a pretty cool sight, I guess, right?
Yeah, that's been tough for people in this year, losing people because you can't grieve the same way that we used to grieve, and or we're used to grieving, and it's nice to have people around you.
Yeah.
When things like this happen, and that's the shitty part of it.
I gotta ask, I want to switch over to some NHL because
can you hear Layla screaming up there?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I love it. I
pipe down. I'm on a podcast with Sean Newman.
Sean who? That's why I come to the studio. It's just nice and quiet here. The kids are off at home. I don't have to worry about any of that.
Yeah.
We got to talk a little bit of NHL because I don't know if I get to have you on before the end of the NHL season. We're not even going to worry about that, but we are got to talk about is, man, what do you think of the North? What do you think of this North Division, the Canada?
I love it, except for the overreactions. Like, it seems like the sky has fallen in Vancouver, Montreal, Calgary. Well, it might still be falling in Calgary. Like the Leafs lose a game to the Ottawa Senators where they're up 5-1 and Toronto's freaking out. Nylander's no good. Tavares is no good. They're 8 points clear. They're the number one team in the league and people are freaking out in Toronto. It makes no sense. Vancouver had a tough stretch and understandably so, and questioning what they're doing. Demko gets hot. Oh, everything's okay. Everything's fine. Like, it's just because it's all Canadian matchups and we love hockey so much, the overreact, like the knee-jerk reactions to every single game. Like, I don't even know. It might be awesome and I'm hating on it for no reason. Like, for me, it's always been about patience, right? Like, you can't judge one game and then say this is what this is. You have to wait a couple of games. But it seems like after every game, there is Carey Price is done. Fire the head coach. Fire the goaltending coach. Wait a second. That's 3 games where he's allowed 3 goals, right? Like, Demko's not good enough. The bubble was a mirage. Hold on. Demko might be good enough. Like, it's just, it feels like everything is way overreaction, or like it's overreaction after overreaction. But that's hockey in Canada, right?
Do you think it's just hockey in Canada, or do you think it's because literally everybody is stuck in their house and got nothing else to do but be?
Yeah, that's part of it.
Right? Like,
yeah.
Here in Edmonton, we play Toronto 3 bloody times in a row. Now, I got to preface this by
falling, right?
I got to preface this by I canceled cable the day they started losing. So I thought, oh boy, I just jinxed the team, right? Like, I'm getting the updates on the phone going, 3 in a row to TO. If there's ever a team not to lose to, it's Calgary, followed closely by Toronto.
Yeah.
So the sky fell in Edmonton. The only thing is I watched the last 2 games. We've won 2 in a row. I'm starting to think like maybe I cursed the team for a few, and it's all on me, right? So I got to watch. It's on me.
Without a doubt, it is on you. I spent the entire end of the Toronto Blue Jays World Series clinching Joe Carter home run outside of a car in downtown Toronto because they started rallying once I stepped out of the car. So I was running down Yonge Street in downtown Toronto, having not known that Joe Carter hit a home run to end it.
What?
Yeah. I was standing outside the car. We were listening on the radio. The boys were downtown waiting for the party to happen. And when I stepped out of the car, it was rally time. And so I could kind of hear it. I kind of understood it. We were just shooting the breeze. And then I heard everyone just explode. The whole downtown core explodes. You can hear it downtown. And I start running with everybody else who had jumped out of the car, slammed the doors. What happened? Joe Carter hit a home run. Well, I guess there were people on base because we're running. Is this a game tying home run that we're running down the street for? Nope, jam done. Let's go. Here we go. So you obviously, like I did while standing out of a car and missing the end of a World Series, although I was young enough that I wasn't worried about what was happening in the game. I was more worried about what we were going to do after the game.
Yeah, you let superstition get the best of you.
Yeah, yeah. And it sounds like you're pretty close to it.
Well, I tell you what, when they lost the second one to T.O., I was like, nah, it's nothing. It's nothing. Then when they lost the third one, I'm like, oh my God, what is going on? We can't even get in the go here. Like,
So
is Trump? Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, when are we going nurse for Norris?
Nurse for Norris?
When are we going nurse for Norris?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
25 minutes a game. They play him too much. He's good. He's growing into it.
He's playing. He's playing too much.
Yeah, he is. That's why. Yeah, he is playing too much. They are overusing him without a doubt, and he's playing tired at times, which makes it even more impressive, does it not? As a defenseman, you're not impressed. You're staring me down. I can feel it. I can feel it.
He makes too many unforced errors. Now that probably has to do with how much he is on the ice. Sure. But he drives me up the wall when he forces it up the wall. Just force it up the wall. Just like
chip it in, chip it out. It's a career for some.
Oh man. Like, you know who's impressed the shit out of me has been Evan Bouchard when he has been playing. And I know he's young, and I know he's had a couple of games where he's gotten lit up and blah, blah, blah. But the kid under pressure, as a young guy, he's been fun to watch.
Well, I'm a little bit biased because the head coach in Bakersfield was a year younger than me in my grade school, in my high school. And so Jay Woodcroft, who is the head coach in Bakersfield with a lot of these kids and grooming them for this spot, is an old school friend of mine. So I do feel like they've had some good grooming. I mean, Ethan Bear made that huge jump. Here was my bias going into the year. Your top pairing was Ethan Bear and Darnell Nurse, and they're young, and you have to let guys like that grow. And in Canada, this is pandemic, non-pandemic, anytime. We end up chasing defensemen out of cities because you don't let them make mistakes, especially young. And there have been a couple. Petrie's looking all right now, is he not?
He is looking all right.
Right?
That's one all Oil fans would like to have back. And the other guy is Justin Schultz.
Yeah.
God dang it. That one drove me nuts because I'm like, just let the kid, just leave the kid alone. But I don't know.
But go to any city. Go to any city in Canada. Everyone expects everyone to be Nick Lidstrom. And it just doesn't happen. You have to give them some time to grow into that spot, especially when you're playing at that level in those many minutes. So when I went into this year, I said, listen, that's too young. You can't put that kind of pressure on these guys, but you had no other choice in Edmonton because Bear looked so good last year and Nurse is basically your only other guy with Larson. So just give it some time, give it some patience. And, it hasn't exactly been there for Bear, but so that's my bias. And I'm acknowledging my bias with you right now, Sean.
Can Nurse win a Norris?
I don't think so, but I really like what he's doing. I honestly do. And I get what you're saying about forcing it, but I don't know. My old man was a defenseman too. And he always talks about when you see guys huffing and puffing, that means they're playing too many minutes. And it's just, there's not a lot of options in Edmonton right now to throw out there. And so they keep throwing him out there, but to do what he's doing, I mean, I could throw out stats and the 6 goals. Sometimes those are just lucky, but time. And it's not like there's a great goalie there either, right? I mean, Mike Smith can get hot, but there's no great goalie there either.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we have some problems. We have some obvious problems. I'll tell you this. Nurse is skating is fantastic. His ability to read the rush is fantastic, to like hop into it. He has had some of the best puck luck on scoring goals I think I've ever seen out of a defenseman, right? Everybody wants to talk how many goals he scored. It's like, have you seen the goals? And I'm not knocking it, because as a defenseman, I'd take every single one he's got, right? Like, it's awesome. And he plays against the best teams, the best players, right?
And the best players, yeah.
For him to be eating the minutes he's doing, no, it's freaking awesome, right?
But
I've been saying this for, I don't know, since probably Pronger, man. Like, we just need a guy to take the pressure off everyone. Can you imagine Darnell Nurse on your second pairing, just getting some heavy minutes, but more of the light, having Shea Weber in front of him, for lack of a better name? Like, that's what they're lacking. It would improve everything. It would improve, it would push everybody down. And yeah, our goaltending isn't great, but if you had just a little more, what's the word I'm looking for? Just a little more depth on the back end, and let the young guys percolate up, and everything would be better. But that's where we're at. And then, you know what?
Every team in Canada too.
That's right.
Look around. Every one of them.
Well, I was wondering, Tim, who was the last legit defenseman that came up through a Canadian team?
Yeah. I mean, it's funny that you talk about Nurse the way you talk about Nurse, because I think there are people that would say in Toronto that Morgan Riley's that guy, and I see him make similar mistakes where he makes wrong decisions at wrong times. Like, how far back are we going here? And this is the same thing too, chasing guys out of town, right? Like, that's an interesting one.
I honestly, it'll be something maybe I toss out on Twitter or something, because I just can't think of anyone who wasn't brought in from somewhere else at an older age.
Right. I don't have to look at Leafs. That's easy. Because they haven't had defensemen for a long time.
I'm going way, way back, but like Paul Coffey was a great draft pick by the Edmonton Oilers, but that is a long time ago.
Eric Carlson jumps to mind, but I don't know.
Oh yeah, Eric Carlson. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's a good one. Eric Carlson is a prime example. That guy was a juggernaut.
Yeah, I mean, he's dropped off since he went to San Jose, but he was that dude, man. That sauce pass from his own zone. I forget who it was against, but yeah, he was ridiculous for a few years.
Well, actually, when you think about Ottawa, I was jumping over Ottawa. You think of some of the guys they drafted there, or at least came up through their organization, was Chara and Redden. I mean, geez, I'm looking right at the jersey. Like, I don't have to stare much further than that. But yeah, no, it's interesting. What do you think of? You mentioned Calgary Flames, and that they're maybe a little tire fire right now, and it doesn't hurt me being an Oilers fan, but they got a guy that I've interviewed, Daryl Sutter, coming in. What do you think of them going old school?
I would like to think that this wasn't quarantine, easier, guy you knew, guy you trusted. It feels like all of those things. It feels like if you're going to shake this up, this was the easiest way to shake things up. And you're bringing a guy who is, one, a good coach, and two, might put a little bit of fear into some of these guys. But I wonder if this doesn't go a little bit deeper than just we need to shake this up. Brad Treliving's in a tough spot. I don't know how many more years he has there if they don't figure this out. I honestly thought, and I'm not the guy, like, I'm not the hyperbole, let's just trade everybody right bleeping now, because I thought maybe they'd look at trading Johnny Gaudreau. And maybe because of the 14-day quarantine, if you make a deal, that limited things, and they couldn't make a deal and then with an American team, because the guy coming in would have missed however many games that Pierre-Luc Dubois missed. And then if you're fighting for it in a playoff spot, it might cost you the playoffs, because the type of player that you're trading in Gaudreau would be that good. So I thought maybe this was the year that they shake up that dressing room and not the coach. And a little of me is disappointed, but they're going to get their shot here to prove that they got it in the room. I'm not convinced that they have it in the room.
Hmm.
Do you think that they got it in the room?
Well, you're asking about the arch nemesis of the Oilers, right? Like it brings me this weird joy to see them lose. It truly does. And I got to preface this by everywhere I went in my hockey career, my roommate turned out to be, except for one spot where it was a Vancouver Canuck fan, it always seemed to be a Calgary Flames fan. And for anyone who knows the 10 years that I pretty much left minus '06, after that, we had some dark years, man. And it just seemed like we get Sam Gagne and we get Cogliano and things are looking great. And then it's like we get Taylor Hall and Jordan Eberle and Nugent Hopkins, and it just went on and on and on. And I got a bet right now with Dave Davis, wherever you're at, big shooter, and I'm finally looking like I could win some money because they're so far down. I think in the playoffs they've been a team that's been good, but right now they just don't look like they have it. I don't know what that exactly is. I can't see in the dressing room, but when you bring in a guy like Daryl, I feel like they're going to figure out if he can snap them out of it and old school mentality. I know on Twitter right now, the bag skate's getting blown up. Oh, Daryl's in, bag skate old. It's like, well, he's going to show him who's boss. And sometimes you need that. And whether or not it works remains to be seen. I mean, Daryl's an old school guy
but they've gone through it, right? They've gone, I mean, they did
True.
the Glenn Gulletson. They've had a couple of different coaches, and it's not like there are a lot of different guys in that room, right? Like I feel like, and I know what you're saying, old school guy, come in there, shake things up. Yeah, that's all right. Let's see the work ethic. All I heard today was tempo. Wow, we had a great tempo practice. You know what I mean? Like it's that same old, like I've heard it before from that group, and that's why I'm not saying it's Sutter that I'm worried about. That's why I'm saying it's the room, because they've had a few different guys go through there with a different. Bob Hartley was a tough coach, right? And that's why. And then they replaced him with Gulletson, who was supposed to be nice. And then they replaced him with Bill Peters. And then Jeff Ward moves up. And it's just they've had a couple of different shots to do this. This is their last shot. Because I'll be honest with you, from the outside looking in, you maybe watch more of both these teams than I do, but they have more depth than Edmonton has. I mean, obviously the Oilers have the higher end talent, but they have more depth. They can roll. Like if Sutter gets them going, I think they have the kind of team that can do something in the postseason, because I mean, you got Mangiapane he shuffles up and down, but I mean, he's scoring goals as a fourth liner. He's scoring goals as a third liner. You have Lindholm. You have there's pieces that can do it from all spots. And to me, that's dangerous in the playoffs, and a good goalie, or at least a goalie that we think is pretty good from 1 year and a little bit. But they have the type of team that could really do some damage. So we're going to see. And if it doesn't work, they got some real splaining to do.
Yeah, well, you're probably right. And we're going to find out awfully quick, aren't we? Like, I mean, we're going to find out whether or not this is going to work or not.
Yeah. You know what? The one thing that's really interesting to me right now is that all these teams that haven't played, like Winnipeg has 9 of their last 25 against the Leafs, right? Like you're going to find out what they're 9 of 25 against the Leafs. And there's a couple of different matchups here where if it's the wrong matchup, you could get in some real trouble. I think Winnipeg fits. I think they match up well with the Leafs because they have some high-end skill and some guys that will play first-line minutes that can hurt you on both ends. But we're going to find out.
It feels like it must be what it felt like to have seen the original 6 in action, right? Like it's like 9 of 25. Like, holy, yeah. The Battle of Alberta. I don't think the Battle of Alberta, and they've hardly played each other yet. Well, they've played each other enough, I guess, but like I'm just pumped every time they play the Flames right now. Like it feels like it's heating up. And a few, like from about a decade ago where it did heat up a little bit, right? Like a little bit of anger there. Nurse going at it with Lucic. You're going, man, like mad. You want to talk about mad respects to Darnell Nurse? That's mad respects. That's one man. I'm like, I don't know. Like,
yeah, I don't know if we need him doing that. He's playing 29 minutes a game and fighting Milan Lucic. That's what put me over the top on my Nurse for Norris. It was a little tap on the pant Was the tap on the pant, thanks for not pounding me? Or was the tap on the pant like, man, I got to play 29 minutes and fight the toughest guy on the other team? I didn't sign up for that.
Yeah, that was a cool moment. There are cool moments in sports, and that was one of them, absolutely. And that's such a little subtle little thing that he did.
Yeah, I love those. Those are the old school. Don Cherry used to point them out every once in a while, where you'd see two guys who you knew just had a little bit of respect and did the tap on the head.
A couple things I gotta ask about.
Right.
Dak Prescott. How about 240 mil over 6?
Yeah. It's funny. Arash Madani was on the show, and he did a piece on how when you pay your quarterback too much money, everything else suffers. And we saw Patrick Mahomes running for his life in the Super Bowl. Now they had a couple pieces injured, and they had Laurent Duvernay-Tardif out, but Russell Wilson got paid. They were a good team. Now he's running for his life because they can't afford to pay offensive linemen. It's a really interesting situation. And what makes Dallas even more interesting is that they weren't good. And now they're going to pay all of their skill positions a lot of money. And I don't know what they have left for the defensive side of the football. So let me just say this. If he's healthy, get him in your pool because they're going to need to chuck. And they're going to chuck a lot because they're going to have to score 40 a game to win. So it should have happened last year. I get it. You don't want to lose the quarterback, but you also don't want to pay too much for it. And we just saw Wentz and Goff, Carson Wentz, Jared Goff, who got paid a bleep load in each of their cities, just get traded because those deals were so bad. So I'd be very careful if I were giving out money. I think Dak's good enough. I don't think the rest of the team's good enough.
The Nets. I'm not a basketball guy, but geez, what Brooklyn's doing, you tell me. You're the guy who is all over it.
I'll say this. Nash is going to make his money. Like, he's going to earn his money. Steve Nash, the coach of the Brooklyn Nets, is going to earn his money. He's going to have to figure this thing out. The one thing is that they're so good offensively. They're like, remember when the Vancouver Canucks went to the Stanley Cup final and they had all that offensive skill, and it felt like they were a goal better than everybody else. And then they met the Bruins, and the Bruins did things that got into their head. They played the game that they got the referees they pushed the envelope on who they were punching in the face. And after every whistle, they just kept working them. I feel like that's going to be the Nets, and the Nets are going to face a team. They're going to try and do that to them. And it'll be up to the coach, or if they're just that much more talented than everybody else, that they can win regardless. And I felt like Vancouver got to that point with that team where they were so much better, except for the one team figured it out.
But like, the names are like, they hurt my brain that the Nets have. Durant, Harden, Irving, Griffin. Like, that's ridiculous.
That's why I think the addition of Griffin might put some pressure on the Raptors to trade Kyle Lowry, because the offers are going to go up on Lowry because of how good Brooklyn looks right now. Putting pressure on other GMs to make a move, because you're right. You look at it, and not only do they have favorites in the East by a significant margin in my mind, I might have them as the favorites in the NBA right now, but they got to play some defense. You eventually someone will figure out how to slow you down, right? Like, no, I don't know.
Okay, well, I know I got to keep an eye on time here, so we're going to go into the Crude Master Final Five. That way I don't keep you all night, let you get fed. Just five quick ones, as short, long as you want to go. One-word answers if you have to. It's all good, Tim. One friend you can't wait to bring on Tim and Friends.
I might bring my buddy Brian McLaughlin, who I grew up with and who was in my wedding party. We went to we met each other in junior kindergarten, and he is. You're seeing You, Me, and Dupree. Have you seen that movie?
Yeah. Yes. He's Owen
He-
Wilson.
He's my Dupree, and eventually he might move into my basement. He might live, and he played pro hockey in Europe for, I don't know, till he was like 32. I think we actually talked about him the last time
I think you're right.
that I came on here, and he's just, you go into any spot and he's the life of the party. And at my wedding, he did the Will Ferrell interpretive dance with the handkerchief that happened to be from the table and presented it. Yeah. So it's like I said when they named it Tim and Friends, I said, you realize I'm going to have a couple of my real friends on here and we're just going to talk. And they're like, yeah, sure. So I think, I know people want me to say some famous name.
No, that's
or
cool.
some
I
guy.
personally, I think that's super cool.
Yeah. I think if he
Only if he does the interpretive dance on air, though.
I got it on video. So even if that's the thing though, right? Like I got buddies that could handle this easily, but once you turn that red light on, there's a little bit of a difference.
Yeah.
So
fair.
If he can handle it, we're going to do it.
Is Sid going to make a guest appearance on Tim and Friends?
Eventually. Going to give it at least 6 months though.
Fair.
Yeah, we need a clean break.
Colin Spencer wants to know, who is the most underrated player in the NHL in your mind?
That's a really good one. I don't want to give this away. It used to be Stone and Scheifele for me, but I feel like they're not underrated anymore. I feel like both of them have gotten their due. I used to always say Stone. My guys were Wayne Simmons, Stone, and Scheifele. And I feel like all of them have gotten their due. And Wayne's just getting older, so it's a little bit different. But the revival that he had before he got injured in Toronto was like he was near cult status in Toronto, fighting everybody, scoring goals. It was unbelievable. So I might have to ponder this, and then the next time I'm on with you, I'll come back with my new guys, because I haven't. I rode Scheifele and Stone for so long, and now I can't do it anymore. One of them's a captain in Vegas, the other one's top 5 in scoring. Like,
Not underrated.
No, not underrated anymore.
If you could go back and go back in time and change one trade so it never happened, what trade would you stop?
Vince Carter in Toronto. Got his way, did all the wrong things to get his way. That's one. And then every defenseman that we talked about earlier.
Finally, Colby Mann wants to know. He's a big diehard. He's my best friend.
All right.
He's a diehard NBA guy. We get into arguments all the time. And you, knowing me, knowing jack crap about the NBA, you can imagine the comedy to it. He wants to know, can the Raptors land a star in free agency, or is Toronto not an attractive place to play for NBA players?
Sid would say that it was the latter, that it's not an attractive place to play for NBA players. And I think it is to a certain extent, but when you win and you have money, things change. And I honestly thought that they had a shot at Giannis Antetokounmpo. So I don't think that's the case anymore. I think Masai Ujiri, the president, is so well respected in the league and what they've been able to do over the last few years by winning a championship and people seeing what they've seen in Toronto and from Toronto. I think it's really changed the way that the players look at. Like, you see LeBron James at the NBA All-Star game was mouthing the words to "Oh Canada." Like, it's changed. It's not what it used to be. And I even think that the global pandemic and the way that Canada has handled it, as opposed to the way it's been handled in the States, has made people appreciate what we are and what we do in this country even more. So I would say that 10 years ago, that would have been the case. We're not quite LA or New York or any of those, or Miami. I'd go to Miami.
I'd go to Miami.
Yeah, you go to Miami too. Yeah, it's not quite those places, but it's not Milwaukee. It's not Charlotte. Toronto is slowly climbing up.
Cool. Well, hey man, thanks for hopping on. Best of luck to you on the new show. Do appreciate you making some time for me though, and like I say, best of luck to you, Tim.
Yeah, you too. I always appreciate the support, and it's fun coming on and just shooting the shit with you for an hour.
Hey folks, thanks for joining us today. If you just stumbled on the show, please click subscribe. Then scroll to the bottom and rate and leave a review. I promise it helps. Remember, every Monday and Wednesday, we will have a new guest sitting down to share their story. The Sean Newman Podcast is available for free on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and wherever else you get your podcast fix. Until next time.